Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon, bringing you the weekly writing vlog. And I am almost done with my essays. I technically finished them, and then I realized I had another one I wanted to write. So I've recorded that one. I think there's going to be 7 now. So I've done 6, and I have one more to go. This one is actually just going to be a book review on a book called, well, really a novella called Scars, which is a really interesting story about rats. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to know more about Scars, please read my review of it when it goes up sometime in April. I think at the end of April is when that will be officially going live. Well, let's see. No, actually, I think it'll be at the beginning of May, now that I count things out on my fingers. That's when that will be going live. I thought it was a pretty good story. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but it certainly had a lot of fun things to say. And I'm going into reviewing the book, which is not what I want to do here. Sometimes it does help to, talk all these things out. And I've noticed that a lot of these subjects I tackle in essays, I wind up talking about with someone 2 or 3 weeks before I actually write the essay. It's a really good way to, prime the pump, start getting your thoughts in order. And that brings me to something I really wanted to talk about today in this vlog, and that is the importance of speaking out loud about things, talking to people about your ideas. This is something that I started thinking about when I was talking with my editor about Burning Bright, and I mentioned that one of the things that helped me to write dialogue was spending a lot of time in theater. I've done about 20 years of live theater at this point in my life. Fairly consistently, with really only about 6 to 8 months off in between performances, with the exception of 1 year where I basically didn't do any theater at all. And I guess I am getting ready for a performance right now, which will be my first one in probably 15 months. So I've had another off period here, but I've done a lot of theater in my life, and the process of talking things out, not just reciting lines, although even that is very helpful for getting your brain more engaged in the words and the impact of them on other people. But the process of talking things out and getting that live feedback on them is very important to me, and has become more important the more I've written, the older I've gotten. This is a big part of how I gauge reactions to what I'm saying, how well people are understanding the way I articulate ideas. This is a lot like, live comedy is very, very hard to do because you are up there in front of an audience that's giving you constant real-time feedback on how well you are doing in your stated purpose, in this case, to make people laugh. If they're not laughing, you're doing really terribly at it because they're not laughing. And I think that live theater really, really helped me get an idea of the kind of dialogue that keeps an audience interested and following along with what's going on. By the same token, talking over ideas with people helped me understand the subjects, in this case for essays discussing writing, that people were and were not interested in. There are a lot of things that people talk about in writing essays and stuff that it turns out most people, it seems, really aren't interested in talking about. Nobody really wants to talk about your characters or how you go about building their backstory or anything like that. They are interested in how stories can be broken down and the things that work or don't work can be analyzed in them. And that's what I've noticed. Nobody wants to talk to me about how I'm building characters for my latest story. But if I talk about, say, Spider-Man 2 and the way Sam Raimi shows the evolution of Peter's character in that movie, become very interested, even if the techniques Sam is using to explore Peter Parker in that movie are the same techniques that I am using to explore one of my own characters. And, people are much more likely to become invested in talking about general character building techniques when you are pulling out of an existing work, which they have seen, and where you can take them along the pathway to developing those characters in that specific way. And I came to that understanding by, trying to engage people in all these different kinds of conversations, and that is, I think, an important part of developing your understanding as a writer, developing your understanding of other people, and in general, just being an interesting conversationalist, to be frank, is a very good thing to develop if you want to be a writer, because you have to be able to convey ideas in a way that holds people's interests. And if you're not actually going out there face to face with people and just talking to them about these ideas, you're never going to develop that understanding, because the internet, especially, is a terrible medium for this, because the feedback, if you get any at all, is layered through so many layers of obfuscation and anonymity and all these other things. And while you can do it through, say, emails or something like that with somebody that you know, you are still losing a lot of that context and a lot of that immediacy as well, not just in your ability to read expressions and things like that, but your ability to get a sense of people's first unvarnished, unfiltered reactions. Even if you're emailing someone you trust, you are going to get a very thought over, possibly over-analyzed understanding of what they think of your topics or your story, or etc. So yeah, in-person conversations, don't lose touch of them, even as a writer. You spend a lot of your time as a writer alone anyways, because you got to park yourself down in front of your keyboard or a sheet of paper and block out all the distractions and work on writing this down. So definitely continue to pursue that kind of feedback, because it will provide you with an unvarnished reaction to what you are trying to do. And that's a part of how I came up with many of the topics that I am putting into my current series of essays. Although not Scars, that's just a book I read, I guess. So maybe not a direct correlation to what I'm writing, but that's what I'm writing, and that's what I'm thinking about this week. So let me know what you think about the importance of live conversations. Do you have them with other authors? Do you have them with just people you know? I would love to hear about that down in the comments below. There's a like button and a subscribe button down there. You can use those as you see fit, and I will talk to you later.